David Raccuglia is a man of many titles and accomplishments, company founder, entrepreneur, and renowned photographer. But his first professional title was a hairstylist. He began his career as a stylist in the salon industry, and today styling and the salon community continue to be his primary inspiration and motivation. After having traveled worldwide as a platform artist in the early 1980s, he opened his own salon. Frustrated by the lack of grooming options on the market, but inspired by what he recognized as a true need, David founded American Crew in 1994, bringing his expertise from behind both the barber chair and the camera to develop the brand and its collection of grooming products designed for men and the stylists they trust. American Crew quickly established itself as the leading manufacturer of quality salon products for men, offering a diverse portfolio including hair care, styling, shave, and body products. Today, American Crew continues to be the leading professional men's grooming brand in the world. David is also an accomplished photographer, contributing his talents in this area across books, magazine covers, and rock albums. He has built success through a well-earned reputation for all things relevant, refined, and modern. His vision of uncompromised quality is key to his success. David, welcome to the Volume Up podcast. How's it going?
It's going great. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing very well because I'm chatting with you, an industry icon. If you wouldn't mind, our audience has heard the bio. Could you talk a little bit about yourself? How did you get started in the salon professional industry?
Wow. Okay. That's a long time ago.
I know.
So in the late 70s, in 1977-ish, I was graduating from high school with not a clear vision of my life. And I decided that the hair industry might be something I was interested in. I'm from a very small town in Illinois, and my barber was probably the coolest guy I had ever met in my entire life. He was incredibly happy. He was always smiling, telling jokes, dressed well, just ran the show, guys in the shop, just everybody laughing. And my father was kind of a hardworking attorney who was probably one of the best men I ever knew. However, he didn't laugh and smile and enjoy his job in the same way. He loved his job. He was passionate about the law, but the law didn't make him as happy as Bob being social. Bob D'Angelo was the barber's name. I'm still very good friends with him to this day. He still does a mean haircut. I would be very happy to have him cut my hair. But I asked him if he thinks I would make a good barber, and he said he thought I would. So in the unfortunate 1970s, when barbering was on its way out, and hair styling for men was coming in, I still had kind of a strong love for barbering. But I went to a barber school, classic barber school, and learned how to taper and fade and grease hair back and do all the fun stuff. However, I did learn the groovy sort of long hair in the back and feathered back 70s styles to make money.
Make a living, yeah.
And I just really got the bug bad. I then remember an epiphany moment in my life where I was at a concert in Chicago, and this absolutely beautiful woman came to the table. She was a waitress at this concert, and she had this incredible short haircut that I couldn't do. I looked at it, I studied it, and I realized I wouldn't even know where to begin to do that haircut. I decided I was going to go to beauty school. So I then went on to beauty school, and I just got the bug really bad. I moved to London, England. I trained in England and became a women's hairdresser. I worked I had a great job. I traveled around the world teaching haircutting. I was able to go to Japan and all over Europe when I was in my early 20s. And to speed it up quickly, I then decided I wanted to open a salon. I moved back to Chicago in the late 80s, started a salon, was doing mostly women's hair, but I had the barber in my heart. Everyone used to laugh at me in England because at the time they used to cut hair with little scissors about this big. And I was the guy who whipped out the big scissors and just did the old barbering thing. So it was always in my blood. And I decided that, it was the 90s, man, like grunge was really happening and men were getting into vintage clothes. And Armani was doing all this cool vintage stuff. And I decided, I'm going to take a crack at just being a men's hair cutter. So I went on that path, and here I am today.
Along the way, in addition to working with an incredible list of celebrity clientele, you decided to found a brand, which is, of course, American Crew. So, talk to us about you set the stage for the change that we're seeing in terms of men's fashion, men's grooming. When did you decide, like, I'm gonna get my hands dirty and make a product line? Because this is not something that every barber stylist comes to realize that they want to take on for themselves.
No, and men weren't using products back then as much, and it wasn't a very sort of like obvious thing to do. But it's interesting. So here's there's a lot of stories about how you start things, but if you go to your heart, like how I started it was I went to Russia to do a photo shoot. I believe it was 89 or 90 probably, which going to Russia was a big deal at that time. I was chosen by a magazine called American Salon, an amazing magazine, especially back then. They were just like trying, to get to go to Russia to do a hair study. And I went with a whole group of incredible people. Vidal Sassoons went, Tony and Guy, all these amazing companies. I was like the by far the least talented of the bunch. And I met this photographer who I just connected with. His name is Mark Havriliak. He's still to this day a New York photographer, very good. And we just got along, like we connected. And ultimately, I ended up getting the cover I did this really cool short haircut and got lucky. And I was the one chosen for the cover. And he and I made sort of a pact that we were going to work together. So I said, I got this great idea. I'm going to go to the bank and I'm going to borrow $50,000, which was more money than I could even count at that point. And I said, let's do a book on men's grooming. And he's like, oh, I'd love it. I'm in. And he was just a ridiculously talented, like resourceful. I mean, he could shoot with his feet and something would happen, that good. So we did a book called Groom. And this is a book I wish I could show you right now, because this is in the early 90s and it held up today because this man's classic photography was so good. So we did this book and I had to pay a loan off and I was worried about it. And I ended up having to go to distributors and sell to distributors books. Well, I sold it out in like a month. And it made me realize that the appetite for men's grooming, classic and hip men's grooming, was relevant in the beauty community. And I always wanted to start a product line because I went to Japan to teach and I found this product called Cool Grease. And it was like this cool water-based pomade. And it was the only thing that my clients, we used to sell it at my salon in Chicago. I had a partner, I'm still friends, and we have a lot of things in common still today. Lawrence Haggerty, he's from England. I met him in England. He was my partner and we loved that product. So I set off on a path to try to get that product made in a similar fashion, in a water-based. And we wanted ours to be different because we wanted it to work with highly textured hair as well as straight hair. So it was a big ask for what we wanted. So we created the first American Crew pomade, which I then wanted way more than pomade. I wanted a really good shampoo, a good cream, a good gel. So we started this brand, and they say, God blesses babies and fools, and we just did it, and in the end, we're one of the lucky ones who I think cared way more about the product, the concept and everything. And people just got involved, and American Crew became not an overnight success because it was very difficult in the beginning to talk salon owners who are getting $20 and $30 less for their men's haircuts to believe that if they learned to cut hair with precision, we created a hybrid technique of cutting that introduced the sort of Sassoon methods from the mid-century modern technical hair cutting, and then classic barbering with a clipper. We merged that into a technique that was not cheap. You had to spend the 30 or 40 minutes on a client that you would a female client in order to achieve the results we were achieving. And we were teaching this technique and then ultimately slathering our after clients in American Crew. So ultimately, if you look at the salon community today, I'm not one to take credit for the whole thing because there's been many, many great brands that got involved in this category, but we moved the ball up the field. We made the men's grooming industry both difficult, challenging, inspiring, educational. And in the end, I think that's what made American Crew is the pros were like, man, a man's haircut is not only fun, but it's technical, it's challenging, and there's a lot of options. You know, when I used to say when I first started American Crew, you know, if you looked at men at that time, it was the perfect time to start because things started to change. Like guys were shaving their heads and they were the sexiest beasts that ever walked the planet. And then there's people that had their, you know, the grunge guys, the Kurt Cobains, the longer hair. That was also good. So if you line guys up, there was now like, wait a minute, men not only have a choice, but they're fitting into categories like women. Women have always been way more blessed with the opportunities to put hair color, trend, you know, what suits them, where men were like, yeah, you know, it's up to our job, you know, if we're so expressing yourself, you look at the tech industry that was just sort of starting. All of that was the groundswell for men to be the cool subjects that they are today, because men are wildly fashionable, very interested in grooming. And, you know, today it's a blessing to be in this category.
Well, I mean, speaking of this category that you claim not to have necessarily owned, but certainly nearly 30 years later, there's few like American Crew. Want to talk about those initial challenges? I mean, you mentioned it took a little bit of, not maybe a little, education to convince people that these haircuts can be done with these sort of hybrid techniques that you mentioned, and then that these products can be applied. What other challenges, when you look back, again, nearly 30 years, did you experience getting this brand off the ground? I feel like our listeners are going to want to know that.
Well, I was very blessed early on that I didn't have the problems of money. I mean, I did when I first started. I maxed out every credit card I had, buying bottles and caps and all of that sort of thing. But
that's real.
I was blessed with a visionary company called Revlon, who came along early in the career of American Crew, not only invested in the brand, but they acquired us. But they really, the brilliance of Revlon at that time, they helped us in the ways they could help us, but they didn't overtake us in a corporate way. I mean, when Revlon first purchased American Crew, they had just gone on, got back on the stock market. It was in April of '96. And we were a company that had fast growth. And it was just a pleasured relationship. We were able to grow. Revlon had a great professional division in Europe. We were able to tag into that. So international growth came fast. So, you know, we started in 94, sold in 96. It was about 97, 98 that we started humming. And, you know, at that point, 98, the salon professionals, the barbers, the hairstylists, they started to realize that, you know, this isn't like a gender-filled business. You know, yes, maybe we can do more color and we can do different conditioning services, but if you put hair cutting in a box, men's haircuts are not only profitable because men come to upkeep a good short fades every 2 to 3 weeks.
Exactly.
The repeat of business, the whole aspect of having men in the salon. And it was wonderful because salons didn't, you know, sort of change their decor from being pink, and which they weren't. I mean, in the 90s, they were very cool. But you know what I'm saying? They had to be a little more male friendly, genderless in its cool factor. And I think that's the salon industry that it started to change. And it didn't change because of us, but we were able to adapt to this new sort of, you know, it's, you know, hairdressers make money by being talented and by maintaining a good time schedule. Those are two very important aspects of it. And we fit that, you know, you study on a guy spend the 30, 40 minutes you allocate. You might not have to blow dry it for 20 minutes. There's a lot of good quality. And then everything was cool. Beards took off, the 5 o'clock shadow, which replaced shaving. Not that shaving isn't a big part of barbering today, it is, but more men don't shave, like chaps like you and me. I mean, you're not examples of daily shaving. And the guys are looking for, getting their beards trimmed. What's the right length? So it exploded into this. And I think that in general has really been what carved out the men that exist today. Now, a man today, sure, he'll buy his product online. He'll try things. He's willing to, I always said this, I'm from a very small town and I've got, my mates are all like, blokes, cool dudes. They're not super like fashionable guys. Mm-hmm. You go back when I started American Crew, if I sat at a bar and talked to them like, hey man, you need to get your hair cut, they'd be like, hey, stop. Don't touch me. Don't touch the back of my hair.
Yep.
Today, I can't get away from them. Hey man, come here. I use skincare now. Do you like me? What kind of product should I use on my hair?
Yep.
Anyway, the change in dynamic of talking about grooming is incredible and also was very needed. And it's a blessing to be in the category when men are that interested,
Yeah, well put. So you talked, one major milestone, obviously, the sale, and working with Revlon, and as you said, things humming thereafter. What are other things when you're looking back on the brand and reflecting again on nearly 30 years in? What are other things along the way where you're like, wow, things have changed for us as a business? You mentioned, cultural shifts, but I'm curious in terms of pulling back the curtain a little bit at the business. What were other things that were noteworthy to you?
It's interesting because the industry has changed a lot, which helped us. Price increases. The hairdresser got a little bit more serious about their time allocation, and we're the benchmarking of what their career was all about. That was important to have a nice mix of male and female, and then also the commitments that people made in grooming was a big commitment. But me personally, I ended up getting into photography at the being inspired by the Mark Raccuglia, my friend, and I started doing the shooting for American Crew, and that became something that I think kind of designed our brand well. Like I was always there and ready to take a picture of something, like not just men's hair, but men cutting hair. I was always behind the scenes, and I think we presented a picture of a wonderful community of the passion of groomers and grooming and barbers and barbering. And I think that was a part of the look and feel of American Crew. And that caught on globally. American Crew, if you go to France and Italy and Spain and Germany and Scandinavia and all these places, we are a very, very popular brand. And we're very popular because we are hanging out with very popular barbers and hairdressers. And so it was able to take this culturally American product line, which it was. We tend to look, I believe we tend to take a nod from the past. I know why I loved the look and feel of vintage men's hair, because I'm from an Italian family and my uncles were like they all had a little too much olive oil in their hair and they looked awesome and cool. That look and feel, I think, that we promoted became very popular, very, very popular. And I don't want to say that we did it, because we didn't. Rockabilly bands and music and all the cultural relevance of men's hair was always there for us to grab onto. But hair, rock and roll, fashion, they all go together. And I think men got really looked at strongly in the early aughts, late 90s, early aughts, and we're still going. That's what I think was so important.
Well, so talk to us a little bit about that POV from your perspective. You've mentioned that it is American feeling, and you've sort of tapped into the references that you've had from your own past, but then looking forward, how do you balance these things? Because obviously this has turned out to be an incredibly successful formula. It's an enduring brand. curious again, like how do these negotiations in terms of how traditional versus how modern happen?
So if you look at hair as hair for men, right? We as a brand, I have a collaborator that I work with every day, Phoenix Thompson. She's a brilliant English hairdresser who loves barbering and just incredibly talented. And we always talk about exactly what you just asked us. Like, and I think one of our successes is our goal, and this doesn't probably not going to answer your question in a way that you would expect, but our goal is if you walked in the door with the length of hair that you're presenting, the look that you're presenting, we have the skills and the techniques to give you exactly what you want. I have longer hair than you. If I walk in the door, this person is prepared with skills, the right product adaptation, all of that to take care of me as well. My beard, my hair, that's something we work at, looking at what are the core values right now of men's grooming, what's really at the forefront. And we have to be prepared to be able to put a technique down once in a while. The barber is able to take a clipper all day long and work with it. A good groomer has the ability to use their scissor, use their comb, use their razor, use it all in a way that adapts based on men's grooming. If you have those skills, which we do at American Crew, we are as excited about you with hair that long, cool, blonde. I could tell you 3 products that would make, we
can get to that later, David. Right, I might need some product recos.
But we're as excited to talk to you as we would be to talk to someone with much longer hair. And we have the answers for you. We have the right technical haircuts that are going to grow out great and look great. We have it both short, medium, and long. That, I think, is not just American Crew's secret, but when you give that to the barbers and then and the hairdressers, and they use American Crew, we get the benefit of being in the presence of the great skills that they have. Ultimately, we've been in the influencing world since 1994. Our influencers are hairstylists and barbers, and we've been hanging with them, and we're still hanging with them. And that's what I think has made our brand special, actually.
Well, I couldn't have put it better. I mean, beautiful insight. For the hairstylists and barbers that are out there listening to this very conversation, how did they get to hang with you? How do stylists and barbers connect with American Crew?
American Crew has distribution globally. In the US, we have classes and education and people that teach. So we're an easy company to find. Go online, look for us, talk to your distributors about working with us. But that's for the barbers and stylists. But consumers, I urge male consumers to try us because, we kind of have the answers. Like, we have the answers for your hair length, your desired result. Some guys, I like to be able to go run my fingers through my hair. If I can't run my fingers through my hair, the product's wrong for me. Most guys would like to place that hair and not move.
Have it sit. Yep.
Listen, I get it, but I'm a nut and I'm nervous and I run my fingers through it. But there's something that every man should understand, like, especially if they want change. COVID was horrible for the day-to-day visits of the barber client relationship, but it was very good for men to just get out of their comfort zone.
Absolutely.
And I don't just mean in elastic pants, because we're home. No. But I mean, let your hair grow, try something different. Not necessarily wear that suit of armor that you go to work.
You had been.
Something, and so what happened is men came away with, like, their home, and their partners would say to them, "Man, you haven't had a haircut and you look great.
Yeah, this looks good. Keep it up."
This little shift has sort of merged to where we are today, is people guys are trying everything, and it works. Beards were a really big thing for a long time, like big from beards that, looked like you Rumpelstiltskined out to, but the key is, somebody said to me the other day, "Oh, beards are going out of style." I said, for really handsome guys, maybe, but I'll tell you something right now. you have a beard and you're not like, you don't have a chin that's gonna you become handsome by the shape so there's a reason that style is important, of course, but if you look better because of something, your hair growing longer, your beard growing longer, your hair going shorter, I think a lot of men that have long hair should rethink that option. And so
Truths are being told right now.
and again, this is important, and if a guy cares, some don't, some do, but if they care, you want to know, ask your hairstylist or your barber. I can guarantee you they're going to give you good information and give you an opportunity to reach a goal, which is looking better, whether it's longer hair, longer beard, shorter hair. And so, you have somebody out there who's willing to work with you, and American Crew would like to finish it off. So we're there for you.
So talk to me a little bit about the trends that you guys are observing at American Crew. I mean, obviously you mentioned COVID being huge for a lot of reasons, particularly the making men more willing to experiment. But we're sort of on the tail end. Obviously COVID's still in the picture, but people are on the other side. And there are lots of things happening. We talked about color. We've talked about length. From your end, what is American Crew seeing? What are they passionate about in terms of trend? And what products do we have that sort of respond to those?
Trend is dangerous. It's important, but it's dangerous because some trends don't necessarily last beyond a trend. What I'm noticing that I think is more than a trend, it's become modus operandi, business happening. Hair is getting a little longer on the younger people. You see younger guys, campus young guys going to university. They just look, man, and I got to tell you, they look good. Their hair
they
is
know what
healthy.
they're doing.
Their hair is healthy. They don't necessarily slab on all the grease. Some do, and it looks really good, but they don't really fall into just one length. Like the guys who have short hair, they don't cut it as short and slick back. It's not classic business hair, power hair. It's a little get up and just, take a one swipe at it and we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And then there's longer hair, which I'm starting to see a lot. You see these sort of bowlish, sort of grown out shapes that just reek of health. Look how healthy my hair is. Look at the wave in my hair. Look at my natural texture. American Crew is taking notice of that and wanting to show you that maybe it's not, product is very special. Like if you don't want your hair to look like it's grown, take enough grease and slick it down and it doesn't look like it grew much. But if you want to put the right product in your hair in order to make your own natural hair respond better, from a haircut that someone who knows what they're doing did, all of a sudden you put product in your hair, looks healthy, it's defrizzed, it has a patina, it doesn't look fluffy, it looks lived in. All of those things are what I'm seeing is a trend more than a type of haircut where, 10 years ago, the short back and side, pomps and all that, which are still cool. They've become classics. They're not trends anymore. But today, it's a little bit more about not necessarily looking like you just came from the barber. It's a very popular look right now. And at the same time, showing that you have healthy hair, your hair looks, it doesn't look dirty. That was a cool look for a long time. I think now having it look healthy and natural is replacing dirty and greasy in a lot of ways. I got to tell you, dirty, greasy hair can be quite sexy in the right haircut. However, really I think you're seeing an adaptation of more natural hair. And I remember in the 70s what my hair looked like, I got my haircut about every 3 months. And it was just, I just wanted my hair to look fluffy and, healthy and look like I was, could be in a rock band possibly, but there was, I started to move into the 80s, which, did a number on men. That was an interesting, a very good era, I believe, because men got excited. I mean, I look back at early U2 photos, and I lived in England, so I was there firsthand for all the early 80s hair. And it was great because men weren't afraid. I loved, you look at the Faces and the Rolling Stones in the late 60s, early 70s, the androgyny of hair was starting back then. Rod Stewart and, all that kind of stuff. That was very alternative. Today, someone with like hair, like, that has a suit on and is in court.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
right? Like, I don't mean in court because they're getting arrested. They're a lawyer.
They're a lawyer. Yep.
We've broken the boundaries with hairstyles. I mean, a lot of people have crossed professions and they look like musicians, tech guys, all this. So I think we did our job. That makes me feel good that American Crew was there in the beginning, and here we are still chugging away, trying our best to give new and interesting looks and products to help them get those looks, in this day and age. So I hope that answered your question to some extent.
No, it definitely did. But we're going to get to this, which is, I mean, something you said that I thought was so interesting. Trends being dangerous, and a lot of things that have been trends becoming classic. One of the bigger trends that we saw a couple of years ago was this push for products to be more environmentally eco-conscious, friendly, not having harmful ingredient, excuse me. Curious, what's American Crew's POV on that? How are you all responding to something like that, and making that maybe a mainstay in the product offerings?
So American Crew, if you really study the brand, started that way, is that way, and remains that way. I mean, obviously, we are a performance brand as well, so performance was important. We've had to kick a lot of ingredients out over the years, only because of our wonderful testing, not just our company, but the world's testing what ingredients are harmful. As soon as you find something's harmful, we've moved on. If you look at American Crew and the product, the ingredients that are in the brand, it's a very, very, very clean brand. Is it the ultimate? Can we eat it? You see these people who have their products. It's just so healthy. No. I wouldn't eat our product, but I would feel safe.
Yeah. I wouldn't eat the cleanest of clean products either, to be clear.
Right. I urge people to look into the ingredients. I urge them to compare American Crew's ingredients because it is a clean product. And the world is changing in packaging. We've had to go to post-consumer recycled packaging. We didn't have to. We were happy to. We always used PET, which was one of the most recyclable. It was very important to me in the beginning. We have water-based products. Our products aren't filled. We have good ingredients in our products. So that's a thing that, a lot of people just sort of, it has to say 100% natural, but our product is a good, clean product. And we pay attention to what's going on in the ingredient world in order to maintain that. And so, I feel that's where we are. Our styling products are very important. But we also do want hold. Some of the, and we hold and shine is very important dance that everybody works with. We want to get the best possible ingredients to still maintain the right hold and the right shine. Because, you look at our products, we have a lot of products. The reason we have a lot of products, the nuances of what men want takes a lot of products. Yep. Hair textures, hair length, desired result, desired hold. So I think we're pretty good. I urge people to look into it. Don't just listen to me. Look at our ingredients and study it and understand that I think we're in good shape.
I love that. What's next for American Crew? Again, enjoying nearly 30 years in the business. I'm sure 30 plus more. What products are on the horizon? What education initiative? Lay it on us.
So we're working now on a bunch of new products that are coming in late 24, and we have a lot of it's more multi-use, multi-benefit, things like that. I have to keep a little quiet about it, but I'm just letting you know that
we'll bring it back on when we're in late 2024.
Great. They have different vision.
All right. Okay.
Different vision, because hair is adapting to a different vision, health, what your ingredient centric, those sort of things. Educationally, we're adapting our world. We're looking at, Gen Z, We're looking at where the young people are going. I mean, people very young today are going to be running our world in the next in 15 minutes. Okay.
Yep.
So
Yep. They're running it already.
Understanding their habits and their needs is important. We're not abandoning our audience. We love our audience, and our audience can also learn from what young people's discoveries are. So you start to adapt. I mean, I look at companies like Ralph Lauren. Ralph Lauren blows me away because as classic and wonderful as they are, they have the most young representation,
Yep.
multi-ethnicity, the way everything they do is so beautiful. And it's beautiful because they appeal to everyone. Crew has looked at that and understands that. And educationally as a company, we have to adapt. We're taking this new sort of our lead from the universities and how they study and how they departmentize. We have a new leader at American Crew who's quite excited about education, which is awesome. And this gentleman has given us initiatives that are education first. Also learn, mobile friendly, mobile first, not just to feed the beast, but actually to give information quick, concisely, that can help them understand what makes them achieve the goals they have in grooming. And that's all coming very soon.
All right. Well, we cannot wait. Big things in store for the brand, as I'm sure everybody listening to this podcast would have expected. And we'll have you back in 2024 if you'll have us.
Promise?
So we can talk about some of this. Absolutely. Oh, no, we're doing it. We've talked a little bit about the fact that we're coming up on nearly 30 years, but 2024 will officially be 30 years for American Crew, which is a huge accomplishment. I would love to know from the founder, what do you guys have cooking? How will we be celebrating this monumentous occasion?
Put it this way, we don't really have anything that we know of at this point about a celebration, but the sort of contemplation of 30 years is important to me because I was in my 30s when I started American Crew when it came, and American Crew started in the 90s when there was no social media. The internet was just about to happen. And for a company that has endured 30 years, I look at that and it's very special to me that we started when we did, because I look at American Crew's success. My team, many people made American Crew successful, not just myself, but I look at my team. We were like a rock band who traveled around America, going door to door, playing our songs to some people who liked them and others who didn't like them. And, we worked at it the hard way of getting the message out there, one salon at a time. And, I look now at, 30 years later, that accomplishment in a different way than I've seen other brands that started in the last 5 years. It's not that it's easier, because the social media world and the internet world has made it also something to not trust all the time, where there's something trusting about seeing somebody in person. And there's a little, but it's just, it's an amazing accomplishment to the team of people that I worked with. So many of them out there that just got on board because they love the craft. And that's what American Crew was always about. And if there's something to celebrate in our 30th year, besides our wonderful product line, it's the craft of men's grooming and barbering, because man, has it come a long way in 30 years.
Yeah.
And I think that's really exciting.
The grooming space has certainly come along a long way in 30 years, and obviously American Crew as well. Congratulations on this near accomplishment. Obviously, we're going to be going into this year, and it's going to be incredible for you guys. We are looking forward to having you back. But before I let you go, let's do a quick take. I want to just ask the questions of you that we ask of all of our guests. Don't think about it for too long, and hopefully we have a little bit of fun. The first question is, what is the first ever hair or beauty or men's grooming product that you remember having to own? It was for you. This was the product.
Because it was the 70s, the first thing that I remember mostly was, believe it or not, and no pun to Revlon, was Flex shampoo and the smell of Flex shampoo. I would smell that on my girlfriend's hair, and it just was amazing. And I remember using I know, unfortunately, not to give you the most masculine answer, it was a bouncing and behaving kind of decade for hair, but that used to be a great shampoo. And that was the first one that I actually sought out myself to buy.
I mean, scent can be a powerful trigger, so that makes total sense. And I'm sure that our listeners are going to appreciate the honesty. Sometimes
I was about 12, so I could, that wasn't the highlight of worrying about grooming. So, but that was the first one.
One of the first. Yeah, it's always important to remember the first. David, are you superstitious? And if so, about what?
I believe I am superstitious in some ways. I feel like if something goes wrong, it meant I did something wrong to someone else in a karmic kind of way. So
okay,
I try to correct that behavior.
All right. We can get into it. Certainly cosmic, karmic justice and all of that. We want to try to do right by each other. I mean, we've talked a lot on this very podcast about your legacy as a celebrity hairstylist, your connection to the music scene, entertainment. So if there were to be a biopic about your life, and maybe there is in the works, who knows? It would I could imagine that it would be a thing. Who would you love to play you? Dream casting.
I would love Jeff Bridges to have played me when he was my age. He's one of my favorite actors.
I like some mental math to place that, but yeah, that's, I mean, honestly, dream casting, that's perfect. What do you consider to be the ultimate comfort food?
Ultimate comfort, bagels. I sort of have to have them.
Okay. Any kind of particular bagel? Are we talking everything? A salt bagel? Anything will do?
I think if I'm hungry, it would be any bagel in front of me of any kind.
That's honest. I'm not too hungry right now, but normally I would be. Bagel's always good though. All right, David, if you were on a deserted island and you could only bring 3 hair, beauty, men's grooming products, and they could be American Crew, I'll make an exception. What would those products be? What are you bringing?
Well, the two, I would have to have Prep and Prime Tonic, because when I wake up in the morning, my hair looks like Andy Warhol's wig. So I need to douse myself in Prep and Prime Tonic.
Okay.
I also love Fiber Foam, which is a great product. So almost even though it's successful, more people should try it because it gives hair a very natural, lived-in sort of patinaed look. Love that product. That's the one that I also use. And I have to say, the daily moisturizing shampoo from American Crew has been my staple go-to, and will always. I have kind of old man hair, and old man hair needs a lot of moisture. So
I would not describe your hair. Everybody that's watching these clips, if we're to this point, you're looking not old man hair. It's incredible hair. You got a great head of hair, although it is gray. So there's that. David, thank you for playing our quick takes, and thank you for joining us on the podcast. I want to just give you an opportunity before we let you go. Plug. Where can people find you online, and where can they find American Crew?
I'm in the normal places. I'm on Instagram. I don't even know my handle.
And we'll add it to the show notes, guys. Don't worry about it.
David Raccuglia Photography, I believe, and on Facebook. And that's about it. I'm not wildly. I have a website. I have a photography website, David Raccuglia Photography. So those are all my places to be found. I'm an easy guy to find and reach out to. So
do it. And we'll, again, link to everything in the show notes. And then if you could, where can people find American Crew? I mean, it seems intuitive. You Google American Crew. It's a huge brand, but I don't know. Maybe they need some help.
Everywhere is good that American Crew is sold to find it. But if you want to find the right product, it marries up with the right haircut. So I urge you to find a salon and a barber that carries American Crew. Ask them both what your hair needs are, what you would need to make your hair exactly the way you want it, and they'll recommend the right product to you.
Ooh, perfect answer. All right, David, thank you so much for being with us, and we will be connecting in 2024.
Awesome. Anytime. I'm always here. Call me. Bye.